ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਸੱਚ ਟੀਵੀ। ਮੈਂ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੇਜਿੰਦਰ। ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਫਰੇਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਮੈਂ ਇੰਟਰੋਡਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਦਿਆਂ। ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਡੋਨਾ ਵਿਲੀਅਮਸ ਨੇ, ਜੋ ਕਿ ਵਾਰਡ 7 ਐਂਡ 8 ਤੋਂ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰ ਦੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਲੜ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਔਰ ਅੰਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਨੇ ਮਿਊਨਿਸਪੈਲਿਟੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਅਕਤੂਬਰ 24 ਨੂੰ। ਸੋ ਡੋਨਾ ਵਿਲੀਅਮਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰ ਦੀ ਰੇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੇ ਐਂਡ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿਸਟਰ ਨੇ ਚਰਮਨ ਵਿਲੀਅਮਸ, ਉਹ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰ ਸਰਵ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਆ। ਔਰ ਰਾਈਟ ਨਾਓ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਦੀ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਮਿਊਨਿਸਪੈਲਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਪੂਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਗਰਮ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਆ। ਸਿਆਸਤ ਪੂਰੀ ਭਖੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਸਾਰੇ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰਸ, ਮੇਅਰ, ਟਰਸਟੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਪੂਰਾ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਲਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਨੇ ਡੋਨਾ ਵਿਲੀਅਮਸ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਕਿ ਵਿਜ਼ਨ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਕਿਹੜੇ ਟੌਪ ਪ੍ਰਾਇੋਰਟੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਕੰਮ ਰਹਿਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਡੋਨਾ ਵਿਲੀਅਮਸ ਨੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਇੋਰਟੀ ਤੇ ਰੱਖਣੇ ਆ। ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਦੀ ਮਿਊਨਿਸਪੈਲਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਕੌਂਸਲ ਦੋ ਫਾੜ ਹੈ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਕਰਪਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਰੌਲੇ ਆ, ਟਰਾਂਸਪੇਰੈਂਸੀ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਰੌਲਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ, ਸੜਕਾਂ, ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ, ਕਰਪਸ਼ਨ, ਗੱਡੀਆਂ ਚੋਰੀਆਂ, ਡਰਿੰਕ ਐਂਡ ਡਰਾਈਵ ਐਕਸੈਟਰਾ। ਮੌਜੂਦਾ ਮੇਅਰ ਪੈਟ੍ਰਿਕ ਬਰਾਊਨ ਸੀਗੇ। ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਡੋਨਾ ਵਿਲੀਅਮਸ ਨੇ ਕੌਂਸਲਰ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਰਨ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਆਓ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਹੋਏਗਾ। So first of all, welcome to our channel.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
So my first question to you is like, what was the first thing that came in your mind that you want to run for Brampton's councillor race?
I think for me, it was making sure that every single community continues to have a voice. I know right now the city council lacks a lot of diversity. There's only 2 women. There's only 1 African American woman. So I wanted to make sure that the seat remained someone who was willing to go into every single community and meet with every single different ethnic group, every single different religion, race, sex, sexuality. Every single person deserves a voice in Brampton. And I wanted to make sure that that would continue on. It was something that's important to my sister, and it's something that's very important to me.
So motivation came from your sister, right?
Absolutely, she's such an inspiration. It was just, I remember us complaining about certain people not representing, certain groups are not getting a voice in Brampton. There has been very little diversity on Brampton City Council, despite it being one of the most diverse cities in Ontario. So it was something that we would always complain about, and people, got to do something about it, right? And when she decided to run, to see how much change she was able to make for minorities in Brampton and to make sure that we preserve the traditional Brampton values. I was born in Brampton. I lived in Caledon for a bit, but I've been a Peel girl my whole life. I've been living in Ward 7 and 8 for 20 years now. So it's important to me to make sure that every person that I grew up with in this extremely diverse community is represented.
So this is great that you are living here from last 20 years, and obviously your sister has done tremendous job. And even the point you have raised, that women empowerment is also the major thing. There are only one lady was there, only 2.
Yes.
And what are the major top 3 priorities you see in Brampton city? And once you are elected as councillor, what will be the top 3 priorities for you?
The number 1 priority for me is bylaw and property standards. There's so much diversity and newcomers to the city, but there's no real education on what the required policies are. You have to follow bylaw. You have to. We need to maintain the roads. We need to make sure property standards are upheld. But our bylaw department is completely underfunded. Charmaine had to fight dramatically just to get 2 new representatives, and it's not nearly enough for the actual size of the city. It's 1 or 2 bylaw officers per each community is not nearly enough. I've walked these streets canvassing with Charmaine for 5 years now, and I know how large the area is and how difficult it is for 1 or 2 canvassers to get through it. So the idea that we would have the department responsible for maintaining the quality of Brampton's appearance so underfunded, it's no wonder the city's on such a decline. So we need to make sure that there's adequate staff for the bylaw to not only make sure there's awareness, but also enforce it when people are just refusing to follow the required rules.
So this one is like the bylaw thing. Definitely it is major issue. And also like recently you have seen there has been a transparency issue as well, hiring and firing thing. What do you think about that? Like communities, are they getting proper space in Brampton city? Are they getting good jobs?
It's one of another very shocking thing that happened over the last 4 years. When you look at you add up the salaries of these out of towners and the amount of Brampton taxpayers' dollars that are driving out every day after work to spend their money in stores and shops in Vaughan or like neighboring cities. But we have more than enough educated, qualified professionals in Brampton who are more than capable of doing these jobs. We don't need to import labor. We can take care of it right here at home with people who live here and care about the long term.
Yeah.
If you're not from here, you don't really care if tax dollars get wasted. But if you live here and your children are living here and you plan to see your property values increase, you're going to do the right thing. And so it's important that we make sure you research where your councillors and your mayor lives, where they have lived. If they've been part of the community for years, this is someone you want to really look into their policies, but start with where they're from.
So these are the major two priorities. What else? Like health is. What do you think about health? Health hospital is also a major issue.
Yes, I think that I'm thankful that Ford's government finally paid attention to us, but we've been neglected so long it wasn't sufficient. We need more. In addition to that, you look at the structure in the region. Mississauga had a population boom, and we agreed to let them absorb a lot more of Peel's resources. But then immediately after, Brampton had a population boom. So now we need those resources back. And so it's very important for us to have strong leadership at the region. They've recently restructured council, so we will have multiple additional seats at the region, which is great. But it's really important to make sure that these people are strong fighters who know the history. They know that the bill is due. Mississauga needs to pay, and then we have to be prepared to then invest in Caledon. I'm from Caledon as well. Peel is a region. We have to be a group. We have to work together. Caledon is where all of our natural resources are. We need to make sure the parks across Peel are maintained. So it's important that we fairly allocate resources throughout the region. And then, of course, we must demand more from the federal government as well. Brampton is one of the largest cities in Canada, and it's growing. So everyone needs to start paying attention. We deserve our fair share.
So, like these are the good things you have talking about. So, any last message you want to give to the community or everybody who is watching the interview out there?
I think it's important for whether you're in Ward 7 or 8 or not to really take time and get to know the candidates and look at the history of, if you want to stick with any of the incumbents, look at their voting history. Just make sure you're paying attention to those who invested money back into Brampton and you're voting out those who took money away from Brampton.
So, okay, all the best. Thank you so much. So, ये सीगे डोना विलियम्स और बड़े अच्छे और बड़े नेक ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਾਤੀ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਸ਼ੀਅਨਸ ਨੇ देयर आर वेरी लेस पॉलिटिशियंस those who talk about the real issues those are in the city whether it is health whether it is roads whether it is transparency job taxpayer money etc so her sister already has done tremendous job chairman ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਲੀਅਮ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ already ਵਧੀਆ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਔਰ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਸਾਥ ਟੀਵੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ all the best ਅਗੇਨ ਔਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕ those are watching ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਔਰ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਜ਼ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਡੋਨਾ ਵਿਲੀਅਮਸ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਤੋਂ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵਿਤ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਜੋ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਵਿਵਾਕੀ ਨਾਲ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਠੀਕ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਔਰ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਚੋਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਡੋਨਾ ਵਿਲੀਅਮਸ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਵਿਚਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਹਿਮਤ ਹੋਵੋਗੇ ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਲਈ ਇੰਨਾ ਹੀ ਕੈਮਰਾ ਪਰਸਨ ਬਿਪਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤਜਿੰਦਰ ਮੁਖੀ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ